first heard of the Hutterite when I was 12. My family had just moved to South Dakota from Oklahoma, and the kids at school asked me if the people where I came from dressed like the Hutterite. I soon learned that people thought my coming from Oklahoma associated me with old timey folks, and that the Hutterites were people who wore bonnets and made their own clothes. All I knew was that they were similar to the Amish and lived outside of the mainstream culture, similar to the Native Americans who lived on reservations outside of town. I did not meet a member of the Hutterite community until I was 17. At this point, I was in a healthcare facility getting treatment for suicide ideation, and the Hutterite did outreach there. A Hutterite mother gave us a presentation on sustainable living practices and answered questions about why the Hutterite live independently and are averse to some technologies. I was impressed by her modesty and how gentle she was. More importantly, since I was a 17-year-old who found rebellion, even at the risk of health, significant, she seemed rebellious. I had never met anyone like her, which made her rebellion seem more authentic. I saw myself as a rebel, but with my green hair and ripped jeans, I could find many mainstream representations of myself. In her own way, she turned me toward holistic transcendence rather than self destructive rebellion. She helped me realize that rebellion was not always apparent on the surface. She helped me question why drugs and cursing were rebellious if so many people do them. She was also a good example of someone who met disrespect with respect, as most of the kids in the facility expressed boredom during her presentation and asked mocking questions afterward. I did not encounter the Hutterite again until I was 19 and working at a thrift store. I was told to be on the lookout for the Amish. I was told they stole shoes and belts since those were the only clothing items they could not make themselves. Despite this, I always got excited when I saw them pull up in the parking lot, either a group of men and boys in trucks or women and girls in vans. I've never witnessed them steal, but I cannot say they were particularly friendly either. Occasionally, they would entertain my questions about how they make their clothes and butter, but they usually seemed to be on guard. In some ways, I think this was due to their being discriminated against by the townsfolk. As I've gotten older, I've become intrigued by their non hierarchical distribution of wealth. Also, now that I live in a more individualistic urban environment, I can't help but romanticize their tight knit, rural, close to the earth living. The more I study psychology, the more I wonder how communities such as the Hutterite foster interdependence rather than codependence. As I get closer to having a child of my own, I am inspired by their homeschooling of their children. The resistance to assimilation even influences my current views on certain political issues. The Hutterites are a close knit German speaking Anabaptist Christian group, with roots in the 16th century, known for their communal lifestyle and strong religious beliefs. Their community focuses on sharing resources, living simply, and adhering to pacifist principles. Their unique lifestyle includes communal farming and distinct social control mechanisms that preserve their way of life across generations. They aim to mirror early Christian communities by holding all things common. The Hutterites are deeply religious, and whether in the fields or kitchens, work is considered as much a form of worship as their daily church services. Their communal life sets them apart from Anabaptist groups like the Amish and Mennonites. They focus on sharing strong family ties. The Hutterites' unique way of life, which contrasts with modern Western values of individualism and materialism, can be intriguing. Their history of religious persecution, migration, and commitment to a communal existence may also draw interest, particularly those interested in religious history, cultural preservation, or community life. I chose this population because their communal structure, commitment to mutual aid, and resilience in the face of modern challenges present a fascinating case for understanding the intersection of religion, economics, and social cohesion. Hutterite culture and society emphasizes communal living, property is collectively owned, and all tasks are shared. They have traditional values such as modesty, humility, and separation from mainstream society. They speak a Tyrolean dialect and resist outside cultural influences. Hutterites belong to the larger Anabaptist tradition, which includes groups like the Amish and Mennonites. They trace their history back to the Reformation era in the 16th century when Jacob Hutter led the movement toward communal living and pacifism. Over time, they faced persecution in Europe, leading to their migration through Moravia, which is now the Czech Republic, and Transylvania, and eventually to North America, where they established colonies in Canada and the United States. Their history is one of struggle and survival, as they sought to maintain their communal lifestyle and religious beliefs amidst external pressures to assimilate or conform. Hutterite communities revolve around family and communal structures. Traditions like shared meals and meal preparation, collective worship, and communal decision making are central. Marriage is also critical in maintaining population growth and continuity. Community events such as harvest celebrations emphasize the importance of collective labor and mutual support. Hutterites are known for their communal living arrangements where all property is shared and daily tasks and farming are performed collectively. Families are large with many children, and strong emphasis is placed on the church and colony as extensions of the family unit. Though occupying their own apartments, each family shares multi-family dwellings, contributing to the colony's welfare. When colonies grow too large, they undergo a process of hiving, or splitting into new daughter colonies, ensuring sustainability and minimalizing conflict. Hutterites have a distinct, modest, simple dress code that reflects their religious values. Men typically wear simple black pants, suspenders, and hats, while women wear long dresses with head coverings. These styles are consistent for both everyday life and special occasions, although Sunday worship may see members wearing their best versions of these garments, or have a traditional pattern specific to the community. The Hutterites' beliefs are rooted in a literal interpretation of Scripture, particularly focusing on communal living as outlined in the Acts of the Apostles. The principle of yieldedness is central to their faith, which means surrendering personal desires for the collective good. Humility is also paramount in this community, as is separation from worldly influences. They believe in nonviolence and pacifism, avoiding military service or political engagement. There are not many documented superstitions, but their strict adherence to religious doctrine shapes their worldview and practices. They also avoid modern technology and trends that they believe would disrupt their close knit spiritual way of life. Hutterites may be stereotyped as isolated or anti modern due to their communal lifestyle and resistance to outside influences like technology and mainstream culture. Due to their isolation and different ways of life, Hutterites are often stereotyped as backward or overly rigid. Hutterites might also be framed as overly conservative or isolationist due to their resistance to modern secular influences. These stereotypes can sometimes result in marginalization or misunderstanding from the broader society. Mental health issues like depression or anxiety could arise from the pressure to conform to strict social norms with limited opportunities for individual expression. Social ostracism or public confessions are used as disciplinary tools, which could exacerbate these feelings of isolation for individuals struggling with their role in the community. Additionally, the pressures of communal living, including the suppression of individual autonomy and self expression for the sake of the group, could potentially contribute to mental health issues such as depression or anxiety, especially in younger members who may feel restricted. Therapists working with the Hutterites should be sensitive to the importance of community in their identity, emphasizing group therapy approaches that align with their communal values while also providing space for individual counseling could be beneficial. Understanding their religious beliefs is crucial to tailoring mental health treatments that do not conflict with their faith. Confidentiality and trust are key, especially given their community's small, tight knit nature. Therapy might involve addressing issues related to social conformity, family dynamics, or adapting to modern life pressures, all while respecting their traditional beliefs. Building trust through understanding their way of life and engaging with colony leaders can help create a supportive therapeutic environment. Key points for therapists would be to understand the central role of faith and community in Hutterite life. Understanding this is essential when addressing the issues of autonomy or personal identity. They also need to respect the Hutterite values of modesty and pacifism and resistance to outside influences, including technology and individualism. Therapists must approach them with cultural humility, as they are often victims of ridicule and mockery. And lastly, it would go far for therapists to be mindful of the potential mental health challenges related to isolation from the mainstream society that often mocks them, which limits autonomy and also their pressure to conform to their own, strict traditional values. Any outside intervention must be approached with sensitivity and an understanding of their desire to preserve their way of life. Therapists should also be mindful of this and avoid pressuring individuals to conform to external societal norms. In conclusion, the Hutterites represent a unique cultural and religious community with deep rooted traditions and values. Understanding their social structures, beliefs, and history is essential for fostering meaningful therapeutic relationships, and their resilience, despite external pressures, offers valuable lessons on communal living and faith based mental health support. Hope you all enjoyed yourselves and learned something. Thank you for your time.